I want to welcome everybody to iLearn Review Live. My name is Richard. We've probably met before, and today we are going to be talking about something called net neutrality. Now, here's the question: what is net neutrality? Now, if you look at the constitutions of any country, the government of any country, they say, all people are created equal, and you probably have that in Canada as well. Yeah, you have something that's all people are created equal. People shouldn't be judged differently or anything like that. Here's the important thing to understand. Net neutrality means everything on the internet is treated equal. Does that make sense? That's what net neutrality means. It means that everything on the internet is treated equal and has a fair shot. I'll give you an example of something before we go into it. We've all probably heard of Snapchat. You might have not have heard of it before 2 weeks ago, but we've probably all heard of it because it's been all over the news and everything like that. Snapchat is a major competitor to Facebook, who was a major competitor to Friendster, who was a major competitor to MySpace, who was a major competitor to actually meeting people. And the thing is, how these companies supersede each other is because there is really no barrier to entry on the internet, because the internet is fully neutral. Does that make sense? The internet is neutral. I can make a website called iLearnReview.com, I can put it on YouTube, and I have just as good of a chance of that being successful as anybody else does because the cards are not stacked against me. Now, the reason that is because the net is a neutral place. Does that make sense? So the net is a neutral place. The current administration has appointed people to the FCC that do not believe that the net is a neutral place. Now, here's where things start to get very, very interesting. Why they don't believe is because they believe in less regulation. They believe in not regulating the companies as much, not doing all of that. So I'm going to ask you an interesting question. How many of you subscribe to cable TV at home? And you also have that same provider provides your internet, correct? So the same provider provides your internet and your TV. Sometimes, a lot of the times. Now, here's the question. Do you have a data cap on your home internet connection? Do you know if you have a data cap on your home internet connection? You know you have a data cap on your phone. But the question is, do you know if you have a data... Do anyone have Comcast?
I do.
Comcast, Time Warner, AT&T. Who's your providers?
Bright House.
Bright House, yep, you got it.
Hotwire for part of it.
Hotwire for the internet, it's AT&T. So here's the thing you don't realize. Every single one of you sitting in this room, other than the Canadian, I can't speak for the Canadian, have a limit on the amount of stuff they can pull through their internet at home. You have an actual limit on the amount of stuff you can pull through your internet. Now, we don't hit that limit right now. Key word. Did you notice what I said? Right now. As content gets better and bigger, and you got 4K content and all those other things like that, we're going to start hitting that limit. And do you think the cable companies are going to give us more once we hit that limit? No, they're not. Here's what they're going to do. Comcast and Bell and Shaw and Telus and Bright House and all of them, you know what they're afraid of more than anything else? Netflix. They're afraid of Netflix. We got a whole thing on Netflix coming up, but here's the thing to understand. If you watch Comcast on demand, it does not count against your Comcast data cap. If you watch Netflix, it does count against your data cap. Does that mean that everything that comes over the internet is created equally? No. Now, the old administration blocked this. The old administration under what was very interesting, Tom Wheeler, who used to be a lobbyist for the cable and phone companies, blocked this going on. The new industry is saying that this is perfectly okay. So I'll give you an example. If you have I know a lot of us are iPhone people, but if you have an Android phone, you have the Android App Store, and then you also have the App Store that's from AT&T and the App Store that's from Verizon and from those companies like that. You know that when you use AT&T's App Store, it doesn't cost you any data. But when you use Android's App Store, it does cost you data. It's a practice that's called zero rating. It's when companies zero rate things that come from their own. Does that really hurt you right now? No, but here's the thing. If they zero rate their own data and they provide you a smaller amount of data, what's going to happen to things like Netflix and Facebook in the future? Those are going to eat your data. The idea of net neutrality is that all things are created equal. And unfortunately, that's not becoming the way anymore. Now, I don't generally talk about competitors, but I want to let you know about something that Carnival Cruise Line does that we don't do. Have any of you sailed Carnival recently? We don't usually have a lot of crossover in the passengers. When you go on Carnival and you get an internet package, you actually choose what you want to do with that internet package. So you pay X number of dollars a day just to go on social media. You pay X number of dollars a day just to go on email. I'm dead serious. You look up on Carnival's website. You pay X number of dollars a day to watch YouTube videos. And you pay X number of dollars a day to have no limit on what you can do. Very soon, our internet at home is going to be like that. Because what it is the current FCC, which as of today, the chairman of the current FCC was just reelected for 5 more years. And his stance on this topic, his basic stance on this topic is that these companies can do whatever they want because that's enough competition and it's done is done. Where you have your internet at home, how many competitors do you really have to choose from? Maybe 2? 1? Am I correct in that? You've got 1 competitor. Is that competition? Is taking the restrictions off of these companies going to help with any of that?
No.
Is it going to become harder very soon to stream Netflix content if you are a Comcast customer? Because Comcast is going to take its video on demand service and prioritize it when net neutrality is not done. Over the next 4 or 5 years, while this FCC chairman is in place, what's going to happen is it's going to become more difficult to access things that are not owned by the people who own the pipes. Does that make sense? It's going to become significantly more difficult to access things from the people who don't own the pipes. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a degraded experience accessing YouTube, accessing Netflix. I'm talking about over the next 6 months to a year. And as consumers, here's the problem. We have a monopoly. So do we have any choice? So do you see where this is headed? If we get rid of net neutrality, we start down a nice pipe tree, with like a nasty, nasty pipe. Now in Canada, here's the thing. If it works in the US and the providers there like it, do you think it's going to spread to Canada?
Yes.
You think it's going to spread to the UK? Do you think it's going to spread to all of these other places? The answer is yes, it is. So here's what is good. Over the next 4 years, this is going to fall apart. And all of these cable companies, this is what a lot of people don't understand. Your cell phone company, your cable company, your internet company, in 5 years or so, won't exist. Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, T-Mobile, Comcast, Bright House, everyone won't exist. Do you know why? Because the greatest thing about net neutrality is it's going to make the people who have the content build the pipes.
So Netflix will build their own.
Netflix will build their own infrastructure.
Buy more Netflix.
Google will build their own infrastructure. Facebook will build their own infrastructure. If you have Netflix and Google and Facebook and Apple building infrastructure, who do you think is going to die? I'm just going to give you an idea so you can rationalize how much money we're talking about here. Apple has enough cash sitting around, not in assets, not in stocks, not in patents. They have enough cash sitting around to buy every major phone provider plus Comcast and still have half of their cash reserves left. Does that make
That little Zuckerberg.
Facebook. That's Tim Cook. But when you say little Zuckerberg, Facebook has the same thing. So what's going to happen is all of these big tech companies over the next 4 years, the service is going to degrade, and you're going to say, "Oh, I got to get out of this company because Comcast is going to crush them." But what Facebook and Google and Apple and all of them are already doing is building their own pipes. And once they build their own pipes, what happens to the old-fashioned pipes?
Obsolete.
They're gone. Now, to give you an example, I poo-poo a lot on AOL and on Yahoo, and that's because Verizon is buying AOL and Yahoo to try and compete with Facebook. Here's the honest truth. Please don't get angry at me. I'm going to say something right now. Verizon and AOL's customers are dying. AOL, Verizon, Yahoo's customers are dying. Young people use Gmail, use Facebook. I mean, I'm talking young 40s or so, or starting to use Gmail or starting to use Facebook. And my goal is to get you guys all towards the stuff that's going to work, And that's the whole goal of everything we're doing here, is to kind of show you the future, to show you where it's all headed. But today, I just want you to understand the concept of net neutrality. Now, under this video, if you're watching this video at home, I'm going to put some different videos on net neutrality that give you a better idea of what's going on, so you can see what's going on there. But the whole idea is things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. But once they get better, they're going to get really better. So my secret advice is, if you're in the stock market, stay away from Comcast or any of the other phone companies like that, because
Does Netflix have the money to...
Netflix does. So here's the answer. Netflix doesn't have the money, but Google, Apple, and Facebook do, and I guarantee you Netflix will be able to come in there as a partner. No question, because here's the thing you've got to understand. Apple, and we'll go to this, and then we're going to move on to Apple TV in a second. Apple has the money, Netflix has the content. Google has the money, Netflix has the content. Facebook has the money, Netflix has the content. So if you read what I just said in between the lines, the people with the money might just buy the content.
Right.
Then they have the money, the content, and the pipes. Does that make sense there? So this has been the Tech Tip Live for the day, and you can catch this on iLearnReview.com.